I'm really excited to partner up with the Grateful Dead, who I'm a huge lifelong fan of.
Ever since she was a little kid in Slovakia, Barbara was knitting, crocheting, and operating sewing machines. You see, Barbara comes from a long line of tailors in Eastern Europe, so textiles was in her blood. But at age 7, Barbara became a political refugee, escaping communist Slovakia with her family and moving to America. After graduating from FIT, and after a few stints in the fashion industry, Barbara began repurposing antique textiles from her native Slovakia that were handwoven by her ancestors. In 2016, she opened up a shop in Asbury Park, New Jersey, selling vintage tote bags, runners, and apparel, all fashioned from her homespun heritage.
I was born in Eastern Slovakia. At the time it was Czechoslovakia when I was born there, during the communist era. And when I was 7 years old, we left when I was 6 years old. We were in Austria for a year and then came to the US when I was 7 years old.
And you weren't just moving just to move, you were escaping communism.
It was clear to me that this was, a big deal, and our lives were going to change forever. Well, I had been collecting these antique homespun handwoven textiles that my whole business is built around since I was a teenager. I started going back to Slovakia when I was 12 years old after communism fell. I didn't know at the time why, but they really appealed to me, and so I started essentially hoarding them. By my early mid-20s, I knew that at some point I would know what to do with them, and that it would turn into a business, something more than just a casual collection. But I did start making the tote bags out of the fabric. I think I made my first one when I was 25. And it was just a bag for myself, which I still have, the first one. It's still strong and functional, and I still use it to this day. By the time I was in grad school, I had a few wholesale accounts. Things started to take off, so I did use a small factory in Brooklyn. My brother and my father had a store here in town in Asbury Park, also on Bangs Ave, a couple blocks down the street. His whole brand is centered around denim. He's been making jeans since he was a teenager.
You're all cut from the same cloth.
Exactly, well said. Yeah, he calls himself the genius. So my mother and I were driving up from their store up the block, and there was a for rent sign in this store. And I went to go look at the space, and long story short, I signed the lease. So the store is now straight retail, and I love how it opened up the shop and allows us to focus on the retail aspect of it.
So what was the biggest turning point for you?
So I think it was the summer after I opened. I got some really great press. I had an article in the New York Times and an article about me as a textile dealer in the Wall Street Journal magazine. And that was, that was a big turning point. I was very proud of that, but it really brought people to the store, and it brought people from all over. I had customers that came from the city and Philly, and people that were traveling through even from Europe,
I heard you're working on a very exciting collaboration right now.
Yeah, I'm really excited to partner up with a brand and Instagram account from the lot that my friend Mason runs. And he is connected to the Grateful Dead, who I'm a huge lifelong fan of. So he and I are collaborating on a tote bag design, a printed tote bag design, and on some t-shirts and an event in the shop. And it's so exciting for me to have these two passions of mine converge. So from the beginning, my whole company, business, everything I do is based around the tote bag. So here is a typical tote bag. They are almost all unique, one-of-a-kind pieces, because we're making them from the antique textiles. We can usually only get one or a few tote bags out of any one piece of fabric.
How did you think of the name Patriarch?
So in Latin it means fatherlands. Directly translated it means fatherlands. Pater is that the root is father.
Right.
But more loosely, it translates to like native country, homeland. Homeland really is
So it's
the
homeland.
yeah.
That's the story.
So I was traveling back to my homeland to collect these textiles. These textiles were a way of regaining the culture I'd lost as a kid when I was taken out of my country. So it was significant.
Now your entire livelihood is all thanks to being born in Slovakia.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I know. It's not lost on me. Yeah, that's really meaningful to me.
It's cool.
Yeah.
What drives you?
The ability to own my time. There's nothing more important to me. To be master of my own time, schedule, way of living. That's like the biggest power for me.
What does it mean to you to be able to bring your culture here?
One of the most meaningful parts of it, bringing it here, are supporting current artisans in Slovakia that wouldn't otherwise have exposure to a market like this.
Can you give a piece of advice to somebody who's starting out?
This is a question I actually get pretty frequently in here, mostly from younger women. And my biggest advice is, it's obviously informed by my own experience, but I always tell them, like, go do everything. Like, work, fail at a job, go to school, travel, have relationships, try new things, like do it all, do as much as you can in your life, because all of those things will collectively inform what you do later.